Today's video will be changing out a guide track on a PowerHook. Remember to always lock out, tag out the equipment before you work on it. Before we change out our guide track, we need to disconnect the guide track from the hook. We use a 1/2-inch wrench for that. Set the guide track down. We'll remove the bolts up on top of the PowerHook mount. And we'll unplug the guide track from the pigtail. Discard the old guide track. And next we'll be installing the new guide track. You have 3 proximity switch sensors, 4, 5, and 6. And number 3, there's a clearance along the top half of the weld, so you can slide the guide track up all the way. Also, there is a slot on each side of the guide track. When you install the guide track, we want to center the 2 bolts in the center of the guide track for starting position. Also want to mention the newer ones, that they're going to have a sensor, and there's a light on the sensor right there. And when you power this up, if there's metal in front of the proximity switch, the light will come on. Track on the bottom of the hook. Got that one pretty much centered. Install the back bolt. And tighten up the bolts. Next, we'll install the proximity switch, top of the gland. Sure the bracket and the prox was pushed as close as it can to the hook. And install, plug in the guide track. Next, we'll power it up. And you'll notice when you power it up, the lights in the bottom of the proximity switches come on to tell you where the placement of the hook is. Now the hook is up and running, we need to set the hook lower limit. And to set the hook lower limit, what we're going to do is we're going to adjust the proximity switch in the back of the hook, and that's going to adjust the hook height. Now we want to set the hook height where the bottom of the hook cruises across the driveway about 2 inches off the ground. Or you can look at it in our manual, and our manual will tell you that from the top of the hook to the bottom of the hook is 6 inches, so we want the hook, the top of the hook, to be about 8 inches off the ground. It's easier to see the 2, so we'll look for roughly 2 inches off the ground. Now the dock that we're currently working with is actually a show board, so we can't show you showing 2 inches off the ground. We're just going to adjust it so the hook height comes out of the brushes at a good height. So we're going to cycle it once. We can see that the hook is coming down, but it's not coming down low enough to get under the ICC bar of a truck. So to adjust the hook height, in the back of the unit where we have the flag for the number 3 prox switch, if we rotate this flag closer to the prox switch, the hook is going to drop a shorter distance. If we rotate this back counterclockwise, the hook is going to lower a little bit farther down. Typically in a new install, you want to set this flag roughly around the 10 o'clock position. So I backed it up a small amount, and the partner is going to cycle it. Then as you can see, the hook is still not lowering far enough. So we want to get this down a little bit farther, so we'll back that flag off. We've got to wait until it stops running. Okay, I'm going to back this off another maybe 1/8 to 1/4 of a turn. Okay, okay. This application are pretty close. I can go down just a tad more and then lock down my jam nut. and cycle it one more time.